A lawyer walks into a judge's chambers and says, "I would like to appeal my client's case on the basis of newfound evidence." The judge is interested and says, "Okay, what's the foundation of this evidence?" The lawyer replies, "Well, I just found out that my client still has $500 left." This is what people think of when they think of a lawyer. They think of, I just want money. They think of, they just want to go from case to case so they can have nice things and get more money. When in reality, people are going to find out that that's not exactly true, because everybody's going to need legal help in their life at least once or twice. Because if you buy property, a lawyer is going to sign off on the papers. If you go to traffic court, a lawyer is going to help you out. If you are writing up your will, you're going to need a lawyer for that as well. Lawyers promote values for God. They promote justice, they promote human life, and they promote personal property rights. I'm going to walk through each of these points through my speech. Justice. A lawyer's job is to advocate a person in front of a judge or a jury. They are going to articulate evidence. They are going to bring up the law that is relevant to the situation, and they are going to represent somebody who does not have the legal capabilities to represent themselves. Whether it's the defendant or the plaintiff, whether it's in a criminal case or a civil case, they're still going to try and get justice for their client. Matthew 5:6 says, "Blessed are those who hunger for righteousness, for they shall be filled." If you have been wronged or somebody has wronged you, you are going to be represented by a lawyer, whether you did the wrong or you were wronged. If you did the wrong, the person's going to represent you. The person who's representing you is going to try and get you off on a lighter sentence. If you have 2 years in jail, they're going to try to get you on a year and a half in jail and try and get time off of your sentence. If you were wronged, they're going to represent you, and they're going to try to get the person who did the wrong to be punished. They're going to try and get retribution for you and try and make what was wronged right. The next point that I'm going to talk about that God values is human life. Capital punishment has been legal in Ohio since 1803, which is when the state was discovered. If a lawyer is representing somebody who is on death row or who has the possibility of the death penalty, they are going to try and get them either life imprisonment or a couple decades in prison. James 2:11 says, "For he that said, 'Do not commit adultery,' said also, 'Do not kill. If thou commit no adultery, yet if thou kill, thou art transgressor of the law.'" God's saying, don't kill somebody because we are his children. If this child kills this child, he's not going to love this child any less just because he killed this child. He's still going to love this child and doesn't want this child to die because he should still live. He should be life imprisonment or should still live with the fact that he killed somebody, and which could possibly bring him closer to God through the fact that he killed somebody else, and because God loves him regardless of whether or not he killed somebody else or just got killed by somebody else. He's still going to love them. The last point I'd like to bring up is personal property rights. Theft is simply defined as taking something that is not yours. Taking somebody's, like a neighbor taking a lawnmower or something, is still theft. It's going to be considered theft in a court of law. If somebody took something from you, what would you want? You would want retribution. You would want what was taken from you back. You would want to be paid for it. You would want that person to be punished for it. A lawyer is going to represent both the person who was stolen from and the person who took the thing, whatever that thing was. If they're representing the person who was stolen from, they're going to try and get the person who took whatever it was, they're going to try and get that person in jail. They're going to try and get them punished. They're going to try and get retribution for what was taken. If they're representing the person who was the thief, they're going to try and get that person off on a lighter sentence than what it possibly is. If they have 2 years in jail, they're going to try and get a year in jail. The beginning of Ephesians 4:28 says, "Let him steal no more, but rather let him labor." God says, don't steal. He says it in the 10 Commandments. He says it multiple times throughout the Bible. If the lawyer is representing the thief, he's still going to try and get a lesser sentence because it might be the justice for the thief, not necessarily justice for the person who was stolen from. He's going to try and get justice for whoever his client is. To look back, we can now say that the joke I said in the beginning was not quite accurate. It It's not actually how lawyers are portrayed based on what I went through for my speech. I would like to recap by saying that lawyers act as advocates for God's values such as justice, human life, and personal property rights. A lawyer is going to help you get through those the things that God values, regardless of who they're representing. A lawyer and a pope die on the same day. They go to heaven, and they're at the gates of heaven, and St. Peter is walking them through heaven. They first stop at the pope's house that the Lord has given him. They look in the house, and it's an average house. It's nice. It's not too bad. It's not too great. It's just an average American home. The pope goes in and lives there. And then St. Peter takes the lawyer to his home, which is this extravagant mansion. Has a pool in the backyard, has a huge yard, has a golden staircase. It's just beautiful. And the lawyer asks St. Peter, why do I have this mansion while the Pope, who is way better than I was, had just an average house? St. Peter says, well, we get popes all the time. We're bored with them. We get them often, but we've never actually had a lawyer before. But as we've gone through this speech, while this joke was humorous because of the stigma attached to being a lawyer, it's not quite accurate based on what I presented in my speech. Thanks.